Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Roxanne, also known as Bye Bun, and I'm a mixed media artist and illustrator and maker of things. Today I'm bringing you another favorites video, a monthly favorites video. And well, what do you know? This is really becoming a legit series now. This is the second video that I've done in a row. You can go ahead and take a look back at the January favorites I did last month. And I am continuing on here with February, and I actually had quite a big list of favorites and found myself actually jotting them down in my planner journal so that I would remember come time for me to actually illustrate all of the things and put this video together. So I had a nice big list in my planner, which was handy, and kind of am using that as my way of like documenting the favorites as well. So it gives me a little bit more creative freedom when it comes to the illustrating part. I feel like I don't need to label things in my sketchbook spread because it's kind of written out more so in my planner journal. So you'll see what I mean in a little bit later when I kind of draw one of the objects and I decide not to label it. You'll see what I'm talking about. But something else you're going to notice with this month's video is that I changed the format a bit of how I decided to, maybe it's not the format, I changed my approach of how I was going to do it. Last month was a little bit chaotic because it was kind of my first time doing a monthly favorite spread. I didn't really know how I was going to format it or what it was going to look like. I was kind of just randomly going for it, right? I drew directly onto my page, tried to format things together as I went along, picked colors as I went along, and didn't really do a lot of planning. This time around, I had a longer list of favorites. And actually, in January, I had a long list of favorites, but I found myself having to kind of pick and choose because I was just randomly, directly sketching them onto my pages. So there were some favorites that I cut out from the month that could have been fun to illustrate together with everything else. So that said, going into this month, I knew I wanted to try to include everything on my list because there's a lot of things that I loved this past month that I'm looking forward to chatting with you about here. So in an effort of making sure that I could include basically every item that was on that list, I realized I needed to do a bit more planning. So the first thing that I did actually was I took out my off-camera crinkle sketchbook, which if you guys have been around, you know what the sketchbook is all about. I will leave a link to a tour of one down below so that you'll get the backstory. I'm not going to do that here. But I took out an off-camera crinkle sketchbook and did a bunch of preliminary sketching first. So I sketched basically all of the objects, items, whatever, favorites. And it was a really great way for me to kind of like just rough things out and figure out the scale of things, how things were going to come together so that I knew once I had everything sketched, I could then create transfers out of this. And you'll see that I kind of sort of cheated on one of these. You'll see Minnie and Mickey there in their little car signifying Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the new ride at Disneyland. I'd actually already drawn this in my 5-year journal. So you actually got a little glimpse of that here, which I don't usually share on YouTube. So you're getting a little sneaky peek into that little spread there. But I just made a copy of it basically onto tracing paper so that I could just transfer it right into my little sketchbook spread. So everything else I just free sketched either directly onto the tracing paper like what you're seeing here or into my little sketchbook so that I had all my items so that when I returned to my sketchbook, which you'll see me do in just a little bit, I had basically all of my contour drawings ready to go and I could visually sort of collage them onto the spread. That helped me really like plan out my page, come up with a couple of new ideas, and get everything to fit that I wanted to fit within the pages. Did this lead to more work for myself? You betcha. I'm not going to lie to you. This took me a while. It took me a while to sketch all these things out, to create the transfers, get them all into tracing paper. And then once I had them all on tracing paper, you'll see that I planned out my spread and then I just used transfer paper. I used a graphite tone transfer paper underneath to then transfer all the images to basically have my sketch, my layout onto my sketchbook spread. It was a lot more work, but honestly, spoiler alert, it was totally worth it. Totally worth it. I found that it was actually a way less stressful process of me trying to be like, will this fit here? Should I make this thing smaller? How can I make this work here? having a bit more of a plan and a structure actually oddly gave me a lot more creative freedom and gave me like room for it to breathe. So like I would just do various steps of the process and like walk away and come back. And I'm sure maybe it'll be revealed just in like the sleeves of my shirt that this did not all happen in one sitting by any means. This was multiple sessions of me sketching, creating the transfers, transferring it onto the pages. And then especially when I get into painting, and there's a lot of painting in this with both the gouache that I was using. I was also using some new paint that I had gotten. But here I am, you can actually see me collaging things together. So it's kind of fun collaging with your own drawings to get everything to fit. Another really big benefit of having, or planning rather, your spread in this way is that I can duplicate images. I can duplicate my own drawings without having to just redraw it by hand. So you'll see here that, like, for example, in a minute, I placed my little like Mickey ears off to the side here, but I knew I was going to do that twice. So I already had the drawing ready to go. So it's just a matter of getting it in place, making room for a second one. I can flip the tracing paper onto the other side so the image looks like it's slightly different. I can create a bit of a pattern, which I do on the other side with my little Cult of Lamb guy here. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. I know you guys are excited to hear about the favorites. I'll get to it. But I was able to kind of create this little floating pattern around him by just taking that singular drawing that I had done and then just transferring it multiple times. So it did, even though it was a bit of a lengthier process, it did shave off some time for me at the end because I was able to just sort of create these duplicates with pre-existing sketches, which was really nice. Okay, let's get into talking about these favorites because it's pretty self-explanatory moving forward here. I am just transferring my contour drawings off the tracing paper, again, using that graphite transfer paper, and then I just get into painting mode. And I'm painting with gouache, my new Shinhan watercolor gouache hybrid paints, which are super fun. Oh my gosh. They're so vibrant and just delicious to work with. I'm absolutely obsessed. And then did I do anything else? A little bit of paint pen at the end and then a bunch of outlining. So pretty self-explanatory. And again, the sketchbook that I'm working in for the final spread, is my Moleskine art collection. I have already separated out basically 12 spreads in the back of my sketchbook that are dog-eared for my monthly favorites so that all 12 months would be back to back in a row. Okay, let's talk about the favorites here. And I don't know if you can tell, I'm trying to do this all in one take voiceover so that I'm not having to stop and re-record myself 1,000 times. Let's see if I can do this without even looking at my little note list. First of all, big and center. Well, there's two big and center things. Number one is Megan, the new Megan movie. I finally saw it when it came out on streaming. It's no secret that I'm a really big horror fan, love horror movies. I do my best to try to stay on top of the new ones that sort of come out here and there. Megan had come out and it finally got to streaming. We watched it and I didn't really know a whole lot going into it. Obviously, I knew that it was about a killer doll movie and the marketing behind it kind of went super viral with like her little dancing video thing. But beyond that, I hadn't watched a trailer. I didn't know anything going into it, which I think really helped. But it was just a good time. It was just a fun, good time movie. And sometimes that's all you want out of a horror movie is to like laugh a little bit and just enjoy the ride that it is, right? I think the big thing is that I went into it with kind of low expectations and not really knowing a lot about it. And I liked that the general tone of the film is that it didn't really take itself too seriously, which for me made it more enjoyable as a viewer. The character Megan itself is very great. I love the way she looks. I can't wait to cosplay her one day. I foresee a lot of Megans happening this Halloween, especially knowing that I believe that there is a sequel already in the works. And of course there would be, right? So Megan was definitely a favorite for me. If you're looking for just like a fun horror movie that's actually not that intense either, it is rated PG-13. I wish that it was more... I wish that the kills were better and that we got to see a little bit more, but it is a PG-13. So just know that kind of going into it, but it was still a good time. made for a fun little movie night with James and I on the couch. So Megan was definitely on the list. Next up, as my kind of two big and center illustrations, is on the other side. You see this little like demon lamb over here. And he's from a new game that I am obsessed with, Cult of the Lamb. It is so much fun. This was recommended to me by a friend of a friend. Literally, James had like texted me and was like, my friend just told me about this game. He says that you're going to love it. You need to play it. And I immediately downloaded it and got hooked right away. It's sort of like Animal Crossing meets Spooky meets an acid trip. It's just like, it's such a wild ride. You are a cult leader and you run a little cult of critters. And you go out on these little excursions and you defeat other little demons and things like that to acquire materials and to gain more abilities and all sorts of stuff. It is such a fun, spooky, good time. But the artwork from this game is so fun. I want to draw all of the things. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There may be a video in the future of just me drawing things from Cult of the Lamb because it's so amazing. Like the colors, the look of it, the little character voices inside of it that are in the game. It's just such an enjoyable thing. And again, it's a little bit twisted because it's about a cult and you are, again, a cult leader. It's both hilarious and spooky and cute all in one go. If you like Animal Crossing and you are into spooky stuff, get this game. It is a blast. I've been playing it on my Switch at night and it's just like a great way to wind down. It's been like my chill time game. Couple other favorites to note. Let's knock out the Disney stuff real quick. Obviously, we have Minnie and Mickey over there in their little car. That was for Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway. Finally got a chance to ride that at Disneyland with my son. It was so adorable, and just I had watched ride-throughs of it, so I knew what to expect, but I loved it even more in person. It's just such a cute ride. It's so well done. And I also really love the new look of Minnie and Mickey, like the new cartoons. I love it. I think it has such a cool style. Again, something else that I just want to draw all the time. I want to draw all the things. So also beware, there might be more of that in the future, in a future video where I just want to draw that all day. So that was definitely a highlight. I also got some new ears from a little Etsy shop. So I wanted to highlight those. I got to wear those on 2 different trips this past month to the parks. So that was fun. Also, Disney is 2 of my favorite people on YouTube, Jessica Braun and Tyler Braun. They each have their respective YouTube channels. One has more Disney vlogs. The other is like a lifestyle vlogger, but they're married and they have adorable little girls and stuff like that. They're just some of my favorite YouTubers. They have finally started their own Disney podcast called Disneyville. And a little teaser had gone up this past month, as well as the first official episode. So my Disney peeps, if you're looking for just like fun Disney content, they are so great. I'll put a link down below. But I'm just really excited because I love all their content to begin with. And now the fact that they have like Disney specific content is very exciting. They're just 2 very entertaining, kind, happy, lovely people to watch on the internet. So I'm really excited about the future of that podcast. We shall see. I hope they continue it. I think it's supposed to be like bi-weekly episodes. So looking forward to it. I think that wraps up all the Disney things. And what I'm working on now is my new favorite pen that I've been using. It is the Unipin. I think it's Unipin fine line pens. I had gotten randomly a 0.3 sized nib, I think because I was trying to get free shipping on something. And it came and I just absolutely love it. It's very comparable to that of like a Pitt pen. It's waterproof, it's smudge proof, all that stuff. And it has the same sort of nib type, but the body of the pen is a little bit different than a Pitt pen. And I think it's a little bit more comfortable in the hand. So I really love it. So much so I have since restocked and have purchased more. So yeah, big fan of those. So I wanted to highlight that as just like a fun little art supply for the month. Something else you'll see around my little Cult of Lamb guy is we have little coffee cups and then these pink and yellow books. The coffee cups is just some diner coffee because one morning we went out to breakfast as a little family, James and Roman and I. And it was just because I was really like, I had a hankering for diner coffee. I love diner coffee, like watered down, just like not great, but great coffee in like the classic diner mug. And there's a place kind of by us where it has a great little breakfast. They're only open for breakfast and they have great diner coffee. So it was just a really fun, like chill morning going and just having coffee and sitting as a fam and just hanging out. So it was more of a moment that I wanted to capture. So I think I was able to do that through the little diner cups, the little diner mug. And I've even journaled about it a bit more in my planner journal. So that's kind of where the labeling comes into play here, is that I didn't feel like I needed to label those coffee cups or write about it or anything, because that lives in my journal. It also lives in my 5-year journal. So it's like there's lots of other places where I've actually written down things about it that here in these sketchbook spreads, I really want it to just live as visuals, as images, basically. The little books there, which if you've read it, you might actually recognize it. It is, I'm going to screw this up. There goes my one take wonder here. If you've read the book, then you are going to recognize the cover. It's I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This was on my wish list for a long time, or on my to read list for a long time. I'm trying to make a real effort this year to listen to more books. I don't have time to actually read books, but I can listen to them, no prob. So that was one of the books that I had read in February. And I'm proud to say I think I've read 4 books this year so far, which is like kind of a miracle for me, but we'll save that for another video. But that book though, it's gotten such rave reviews, and it was on my list for a long time. And I finally took the time to read it. And I listened to that book, you guys, in like 5 days, I think 4 or 5 days. I blew through it so fast because it was so, so good. Obviously a lot of trigger warnings there. And I'll let you guys do your own research for that. But I know a lot of you guys have probably already read it. Her writing style is so good. It's just the tone of the book is just one that just sucks you in. It just really sucks you in. And it's such a great audiobook. And the other thing too, I didn't know anything about her going into it. I didn't know anything about, her career or the shows that she was on. So that says a lot about it too, is that you don't need to be a fan of her or know her kind of like story at Nickelodeon, the shows that she was on. You don't need to know any of that. It's just an incredible story. It's obviously very traumatic, and your heart just breaks for her as you read through it. But again, her tone and the way that she tells her story is in a very digestible and often comical way that just makes it for a really enjoyable read. It's just something that I think is going to stick with me for a long time. So that was something I had to put on my favorites from this past month. So there you go. There's the look at the overall spread. A lot of work pre-doing those drawings and transferring them on, but I think it made for a lot of success. I was able to really bring things together with color and style, and I love this spread much more than the previous month. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.